Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. Today we're taking a look at that 2022 spring game for the Ole Miss Rebels. One of my favorite teams coming into the season. They've hit the portal hard. They have a ton of talent. I mean, you look at this depth chart, every guy highlighted in yellow is a new guy, whether a true freshman or a transfer portal guy. First time to kind of see the new faces. But let's really just start with the quarterbacks. Before we do, just want to thank you guys for all the support. Almost 850 subscribers on the channel. The support has been awesome. So if you guys like the content, you like talking college football, specifically in those Power 5, SEC, Big Ten conferences, check out our other videos. Go like the video, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all the support you guys have been giving us. We love chopping it up about ball in the comment section. Dill, let's talk quarterbacks. The biggest story of the day. What did you see? What did you see out of the quarterbacks this afternoon?
Kind of saw Luke Altmeyer look like he had a fairly good handle on everything,
Yep.
looked comfortable. And Jackson Dart, like the ball not getting out on time, not accurate. Just looked out of sorts all game, really. I think at one point he was like 4 for 19. So
yeah, to be fair, I think he was working with more of the second string offensive linemen versus.
But he was working on the twos on defense now.
Well, I don't know. I think some of those guys like Jared Ivey, JJ Pegas, they're going to be starters for this team, I think. And those guys, I mean, we'll get to the defensive line, which I thought looked phenomenal. But in terms of quarterback play, I know Jackson Dart's new to the scheme, new to the system, but he just looked like, and Lane Kiffin even said it on the broadcast, he was pressing. He's trying to win the job with every play, not really taking what's there and kind of forcing. You saw him throw it in double coverage twice. 2 interceptions. One was returned for a pick six. You can see the arm talent. The first throw he hit Michael Trigg up the seam was a beautiful throw, and I started getting all excited about Jackson Dart on the hype train with him and Michael Trigg. But it just really inconsistent. And I think a lot of the Ole Miss fans, rightfully so, want Jackson Dart to come in and start because he's the more exciting, explosive guy. People forget Luke Altmeyer was also a top 200 recruit. Like, he also has some pedigree. Was a high, and they're both the same age, so they're both like young gunners. I think Jackson Dart obviously more of a gunslinger. Luke Altmeyer a little bit more patient with the ball. Luke Altmeyer definitely it was a check mark for him. This quarterback competition will no doubt go into the summer. For one, just to avoid the transfer portal. 2, I think these guys are neck and neck, and I think it is fair to give Jackson Dart a couple more months under the scheme, learn more of the play calls, learn of the playbook, and really see to evaluate it in the fall camp. Whoever's going to start, I think, is going to be good. But I do want to talk about the wide receiver room because I do think this was probably the biggest concern I had. And Lane Kiffin also on the broadcast when asked, what positions does he want to address? Wide receiver was the first one to come out of his mouth. And you kind of saw it. There wasn't a lot of green grass, a lot of open throwing windows for the quarterbacks to deliver balls.
Short arming balls, I thought. Like, there were a couple, I don't know if I'd put on Dart and Altmeyer that just like, and they throw a lot of quick slants. You need to
be tough,
have the courage to just catch the ball when like the safeties are coming, because that's how they play.
Yeah, and you're obviously losing Braylon Sanders, Dontario Drummond, 2 guys who I think were the 2 leading receivers, even though they were both banged up. They were special talents, but there's no wide receivers. I'm looking at the depth chart. Jonathan Mingo obviously wasn't playing, so that hurts. But Jordan Watkins, kind of the speedster from Louisville, there's a reason he was transferring from Louisville. Don't think he's particularly anything special. Dennis Jackson had a nice solo catch. And then J.J. Henry also, he had some juice.
He had some moments. In fact, he looked like kind of a bit of a game breaker, if you will.
Yes.
He had some nice runs.
The biggest thing is just, I think, there's not that alpha wide receiver like Dontario Drummond was for that offense last year. And, I mean, you're seeing big wide receivers hit the portal pretty routinely. Ajayi Hall was the most recent one who obviously goes to Texas. But after spring ball wraps up, you'll see some more wide receivers hit the portal. And no doubt Lane Kiffin's going to be pressing to add one more guy because I think this is a position group that just needs another alpha. Michael Trigg can be that guy. I think Michael Trigg, if the roster stays the same, he'll probably be the second leading receiver after Jonathan Mingo. Unless
Michael Trigg looked really good.
Yeah,
that was the one shining moment of pass catching.
Yes, and in the goal line, when he had that little just like box out the defender, go catch the ball, like he can do it all. He's a very good athlete. The one thing I saw from him that might be concerning is that he just looked tired. Like Ole Miss runs really fast, and he was kind of lining up. He was always the last guy to line up.
That's true. that they do run fast. You do need to be ready for it. I mean, he might have to work himself into that shape because that's not what they did at USC, but.
Yeah, and that'll be something to monitor. But in terms of talent, this dude is like all-American level tight end talent. He looks great. I mean, I think he's listed at 6'3". He's big in the 6'3". He looks like he's more 6'4", 6'5". Yeah, that's what I think they said he's listed as. But he's special. He's really special. And the offensive line also looked really good. They obviously add Mason Brooks, the transfer. He'll play right tackle from Western Kentucky, who graded out really, really well in PFF, was an all-conference player. He's going to be a solid starter. And you got guys like Nick Rocker, who is an NFL talent at tackle. They said on the broadcast that he's going to kick into guard because that's where people are projecting the NFL. But this offensive line is going to be good, which leads me to say, like, does Ole Miss have to lean on the run game a little bit more? Because you have that loaded running back room. Talk a little bit about this running back room that I'm extremely excited about.
So I think what you're going to have is Zach Evans he'll be probably the bell cow, like every down kind of guy. And that's not like a shot at anyone else. Zach Evans is a horse. Like everyone knows that. But I think you got a guy in Ulysses Bentley. Sorry, I'm going to say that opposite. But he looks like he could give them something similar to what a Drummond type Drummond Ely, like more like a bit of a scat back, catch some balls like on the quick outs, or not quick outs, but like swing passes, that type of thing. If that he can work into that game, that might really help because I don't think they're going to get a ton of breaking plays out of that wideout route.
I think Lane Kiffin at one point said Ulysses Bentley is going to be the Snoop Conner, which is just ridiculous.
I didn't get that.
That didn't make any. Did you hear that too? Did I hear that right?
I think it's just because he wears 24, so it's like we're just going to say Snoop, but he's completely 50 pounds lighter than Snoop Conner.
I think like two of Ulysses Bentley's legs might equal one Snoop Conner quad muscle. But the running back room is low. I think what you said, Zach Evans will be the bell cow. I mean, he's a top 30 recruit in the country. Him and Bijan Robinson were duking it out for the number one running back in that recruiting class. He's going to be the bell cow. He's going to be the special back. But I think Ulysses Bentley, I think he's going to be given more like a Jerrion Ely vibe, out of the backfield, really effective in space. It's going to be a 1-2 punch that I think is going to be elite. And I wonder if Ole Miss needs to rely on that running game a little bit more because you're not that deep at the wide receiver room, and the quarterback play is probably going to be a step down.
That is the one thing. If that's what they're going to do, then that might favor a little bit Dart because Dart looked like the better runner or the more athletic player.
Yeah, the more dynamic guy with his feet. Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, if they can't get enough out of the wideouts and they have to go heavy to the run, like who knows how they'll play both. I don't know. Lane Kiffin's like that.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't do that. I feel like the success rate for doing a 2 quarterback system is just not very high. Not really my cup of tea personally. That being said, I do think that the offense is gonna look a little different because the wide receiver group is leaves a little bit to be desired. But this running back room is as good as Snoop Conner, Jerry, and Ely and Henry Parrish were.
It's way better because Zach Evans is infinitely better than anyone they had last year.
Yeah, I agree. So the offense, I think, will work itself out. I think, as you said, new quarterbacks.
And Kiffin's smart. Kiffin always figures out. He's actually, for every other fault he has as a head coach in terms of what he does, he's an excellent play caller and an offensive mind. And
he's going to figure out how to use a guy like Zach Evans, like Michael Trigg. These quarterbacks are talented. I think they need a little bit more time. They're young. They're both their second year playing college football. Jackson Dirk's been in Ole Miss for 2 months. But let's look at the defense, which DJ Durkin obviously took them to the next level. He's not at Texas A&M, but this defense is really talented. They've also hit the portal really hard on the defense side of the ball. The guy I want to throw out first is JJ Pegas from Auburn, who's a guy who played 2 years at Auburn. He's from Oxford. I think they tried him at tight end. He's too big. He's not really his body type. They had him at fullback. They moved in the defensive line last year, but this guy was a force inside today. I was really, really happy with what I saw from him. Another guy that I was happy, a 4-star guy in 24/7 portal, Jared Ivey from Georgia Tech. The 2 guys that I think are going to bring some serious juice, kind of trying to replace that.
And I think they can go pretty close to 8 deep because their 2 deep D-line looked really good. Their first group looked they just look good top to bottom. So they can maybe go 2 deep. And obviously they're going to be playing 4 down linemen. It looks like that's just what they do. But That'll be really helpful, and they'll probably need to do it because, I think every good college football defense needs a good D-line. So they got that at least.
And what it might cover up, the second position that Lane Kiffin said he might want to add to is that linebacker room. They did add Troy Brown from, I believe he's up in Central Michigan. He was a 4-star 24/7 guy, really productive at Central Michigan. He'll be a starter, I would think. They do want to add a little bit more to that linebacker room because I do think there were some missed tackles. They weren't tackling; it was supposed to be thud, but they were pretty much tackling.
Their safeties were hammering people. I thought.
And they didn't even have Asheem Young. They were. I saw one. I think it was number 14. I have him on my notes. Tysheem Johnson. No, Derek Bermudez. He had like a pretty much targeting on Michael Trigg, which was wild in the spring game to go helmet to helmet, but he did.
They were just rocking people.
It was a physical, which you kind of want because Ole Miss has struggled with tackling in the past, and you have a lot of guys to replace. Chance Campbell being the 100%. Guy who Chance Campbell was probably the most important player on the defense. As good as Sam Williams was, Chance Campbell was that captain. He was all over the field, and they're going to have to do something to replace him. And I think they might need to go to the portal, find another linebacker because Troy Brown was the only guy that I thought was – and Troy Brown didn't even impress that much. It's kind of hard when you're doing thud to really evaluate.
Yeah, no, it is so hard to evaluate linebackers at this stage. Like, I think defensive line you can see – safeties, corners you can see because it's basically a little 7-on-70.
Yes, exactly.
But linebackers, it's hard. And because you're running very vanilla defense. So.
And talking about the secondary, they were probably the most impressive position group maybe outside of the running back crew in the spring game. And we talked about maybe that's a result of a wide receiver room.
You might be just overmatched on wide out.
But there was not many throwing windows. No blown assignments, which you love to see. In almost every spring game we've watched, you see some blown assignments. No blown assignments in the back end. There was really not many throwing windows. And when the offense was scoring, it was just good throwing catches. There wasn't like bad
running backs making plays, honestly.
And the running backs like Otis Reese, the running backs are phenomenal. Otis Reese is a guy that I like, but two guys, Asheem Young, I don't think played, in Ladarius Tennyson, another 4-star transfer from Auburn who's very talented. I wouldn't be surprised if those two are the starters week one. I love Asheem Young. Kind of what Jalen Springer brought to Ole Miss last year with a physical safety you can walk up in the box. Asheem Young showed a lot of that at Iowa State, so I think he'll get some burn there as well. But in general, I thought the secondary looked absolutely phenomenal. Like the wide receivers were not creating much separation at all.
That's kind of what the thing. I actually thought the defense looked good, even though they did lose Durkin, who – honestly, it's not like been the greatest coach in the world since his stop at Michigan. It's not like he's
he did do a great job with Ole Miss defense last year. Like they were. I mean, Ole Miss noted for
it was a decent unit. It was a decent unit, but they weren't rocking it.
It's hard to put up elite numbers when your offense goes for it on every fourth down, runs super fast. You get put in a lot of bad positions in terms of giving up points. You play a lot of snaps. You give up a lot of drives for the opposing offense. That's kind of like Wake Forest. We talk about that a lot. Like Wake Forest goes for it a lot. They run really fast. When you do that, it puts some stress on your defense. I thought they were a good unit. I'm excited about this unit, especially that defensive line. Another guy, Kari Coleman from TCU, who's a guy that I think could be a productive guy. It was an impressive showing for the defense. I think they definitely won the day in terms of looking at sides. Overall, I mean, I think the story is the quarterbacks. I think Luke Altmaier looks like the quarterback that is in more command of the offense. It's frustrating for me, too, as an Ole Miss. I'm an Ole Miss fan this year. I do like what Lane Kiffin brings. I'm excited to see how the transfer portal, the group of mercenaries, you might say, kind of makes it happen. But it seems like Luke Altmaier is in a little bit more control. And maybe if Jackson Dart can settle down a little bit and be like, hey, I don't need to win the competition with every play. Maybe you see a little bit more productivity and better play from Jackson Dart. But it did seem like Luke Altmaier, who, again, when we say, Luke Altmaier is going to have to start, this dude was also a highly coveted prospect 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think Luke Altmaier, Jackson Dart's getting a ton of attention because he started at USC a little bit as a freshman, but he didn't play well.
No, he wasn't particularly.
He had his moments, but they were still horrible. And Luke Almeir, he got thrown right into the fire against an elite Baylor defense. And yeah, he didn't they certainly weren't running up and down the field, but I didn't think he looked panicked or there was other things going on.
He got put in probably as bad of a spot as you could be, as coming in off the bench cold against a Baylor defense that flies around the football. You had a couple of guys opt out for the NFL draft. Baylor's defense pretty much had all their studs playing. They wanted to win that game. They were Terrell Bernard, Jalen Petrie. Those guys were flying around making plays. Luke Almeir might have been a little overwhelmed. You can't really blame him. But this guy, I think he's very talented too. And you have two quarterbacks that you can win with, which is always a good spot to be in the spring. You see a lot of teams really not having that quarterback depth. They do. And even the third string quarterback, who Dent, I think his name was.
Number 12.
He looks solid. 8 of 9 for a touchdown against some of the studs on defense.
He came in for Dart for a series and took over and had a really.
Dart got benched in the spring game. That is not what you want to see. But again, I don't think particularly Ole Miss fans are thrilled with what they saw, because I think a lot of them, including myself, were rooting for Jackson Dart to really light it up. It would have been a more fun podcast for the boys if Jackson Dart absolutely tore it up. Unfortunately, didn't. Again, this quarterback competition is going to go into the fall camp. We're going to see week 1 who comes out. I have this feeling that Lane Kiffin might just not name a starter until game time. That just seems like a move to do.
And he shouldn't.
There's probably. But outside of the quarterback, I thought and then probably the wide receiver room, I think, was a little disappointing. Outside of that, there was a lot of guys to be very excited about. This offensive line looks good. This defensive line looks good. The back end looks good. And the running backs look awesome. A lot of optimism in Oxford. I'm excited whenever Lane Kiffin's coached a college football game, particularly with all this talent that he surrounded his offense with on the transfer side of things. Again, appreciate you guys checking out our little spring game recap for the Ole Miss Rebels, a ROC Boy team. We're going to be talking a lot of Ole Miss in the summer. So if you guys like the content.
That's a J team, not a J team.
You'll see me doing a lot of Ole Miss stuff. How can you not talk about Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels? They're very
– Lane Kiffin. That's fair. But I don't like that they don't recruit high schoolers.
We're going to see. We're going to have a discussion about that in the summer.
We will see. This will be a big year for the transfer recruiting method.
Believers, yeah, because there's a couple teams that Texas is another team that's just surrounding their team with transfers. We're gonna see though. Again, Ole Miss team. It's always exciting to talk about them. Appreciate you guys for watching. If you do like the content, go subscribe to the channel. We're gonna be talking a lot of football, specifically Ole Miss football in the summer. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.